Today we are looking at every single Championship club's transfer window, putting them in a tier list based off how bad, how well, how average they have done. And yep, tier maker, incredibly original content. I'm running out of ideas, so let me know in the comments below. So the categories, of course, are you've had a shocker. Says it all, really. Weak, average, encouraging, quality. Quality. Quality stuff. Quality stuff, my son. Quality. Stop saying that. So we're going to go for Barnsley. I think Barnsley have had a rather in the middle window, average, because if you look at it, Devante Cole, I'm not going to be, stupid and say I've heard of this lad from Standard Liège. He's come in, as well as Josh Benson from Burnley, another guy from Toulouse, and Claudio Gomez. You look at the players out, they've lost Connor Chaplin, Alex Mowat, Solbauer as well, Schmidt has been loaned out. However, I think the likes of Benson and Gomez could very well make up for Mowat's, departure. They've still managed to keep other players like Woodrow, Styles. I think Styles has really stepped up so far this season in the absence of Alex Mowat. His goal against Blues at the weekend was a very impressive goal. So I think Barnsley, they're pretty happy with this. It's nothing outrageous, hence why they're in average. It's just in the middle. Blackburn Rovers, they've only signed one player for money. That is Teyu Edu. He went through on deadline day from Lincoln City. The mass exodus of players leaving Lincoln this summer continues after their playoff final defeat, of course. But it strengthens Blackburn. Povenda coming in as well from Leeds on loan. 4 loan players, in fact, in total. And they were under a transfer embargo, but that has also been relaxed because obviously they managed to sign Edu on deadline day. Of course, the main departure is Adam Armstrong. For 60 million quid, it's a lot of money. However, I am a bit concerned about the fact that they haven't signed a forward, and I do think the likes of Ben Brereton Diaz, that's his name, I don't know, it isn't, and Sam Gallagher, I think those two have really stepped up so far this season, but my concern is, can they continue doing that for the whole year? That's another question really, isn't it? Because, those two were literally at Blackburn last season with Adam Armstrong. It's a lot, 30 goals less now in that team without Armstrong there. So maybe, I suppose you could say you've had a shocker, but had they had a shocker, they've had a pretty good start to the season, but Blackburn do tend to do that and then they drop off a bit. Blackpool then, they have signed 13 new players. They're doing their best Forest impression from a year ago when we signed 14, one short. Only one player has come in for money there, that was Jordan Gabriel from my team Forest on deadline day. And I do feel that Blackpool fans are going to be feeling quite a blessed relief really at right back, because they were having to play Callum Connolly there, who, as you can see here, isn't a right back, he's a CDM, and then he got sent off at the weekend against Millwall, so it was getting from bad to worse. Thankfully they've signed Gabriel and also Dujon Sterling on loan from Chelsea, so all of a sudden their right back situation is looking much better. And you look at the departures as well, they've only really lost Ollie Turnton, again a right back. Other than that, they've done a pretty good job, I'd say. It isn't anything amazing. I think average is about right, given, what Blackpool had to spend. Obviously, you can see they didn't have a huge amount to spend. They only signed one player for money, being Jordan Gabriel. Alright, we look at Bristol City next. They've had 2 players come in that are kind of towards the end of their careers, in Matty James and particularly Andy King. But you also see the fact that they've signed 2 younger lads in George Tannen from Carlisle. That went for on deadline day. It's good that they've now got someone else to help out Danny Simpson, because he was the only right back they had at the club, really. They have also Rob Atkinson coming in from Oxford, a good centre-back, 22 years of age. So a bit of a mixed bag, really, but overall, only 4 players have come in, and you could argue a case they should have really done more after having a very poor end to last season. When you look at departures, they've let go of a lot of players, a lot of them. Nagy is obviously the biggest one that they've let go of to the Serie B. But I would say they've had a really weak window. It's not been a shocking window, but it certainly ain't incredible, is it? Okay, on to Cardiff City. I do feel this is a club that will be a little bit underwhelmed by their business, because obviously they've managed to keep hold of Kiefer Moore, which is incredible. He was linked with Wolves, of course, on deadline day, so the keeping hold of him is absolutely huge. Obviously, they also signed James Collins, who is 30, so it's not going to be a long-term solution. That but he did great with Luton for many seasons. I think coming to a club like Cardiff, it is a nice step up for him. Molly Watkins, this confuses me greatly. I might be being a little bit stupid here, Please let me know, Bristol, Cardiff, Aberdeen fans. Miley Watkins arrives on a free transfer at Cardiff, but you also sell him to Aberdeen in the same window. Like, please, am I missing something? Okay, so it turns out, after much research, he signed for Cardiff on a 1-month contract. You heard that correctly. A 1-month contract. Then he joined Aberdeen. Why? What's the point in that? Really, I do feel if they wanted to mount a proper promotion charge, Cardiff needed to do a little bit more. So I'm going to say weak, to be honest. From one of the weakest to one of the best in Fulham. They have to be in quality. There's no other answer. It has to be quality. They already had the strongest team in the league by a mile. Then they go and have a transfer window like this, bringing in Harry Wilson, who is championship proven beyond belief. Been to Derby, of course, Cardiff last season, Bournemouth the year before that in the Premier League, and did pretty well as well. He's actually finally got a permanent home now in Fulham. And of course, I'm not going to lie, I don't know much about this lad from Flamenco, but it's a centre forward, so he's going to help out Mitrovic hopefully in the long term. He's 20 as well, so he's got time to get better. Gazzaniga, I think, is a really underrated goalie. Nathaniel Chalobah as well. Fabio Carvalho was already at the club, and now he's going to be arguably one of their most important players, and he looks like a really top talent for the future, Fabio Carvalho, and he was literally at the club. I think losing Kamara, it probably was about time that he moved on. Zambo Anguissa always goes out on loan when Fulham get relegated, and he comes back when they go back up again, so it's not a huge loss, that really. On to Hull City, another club that's under a transfer embargo, so we have to put that into consideration from the very get-go. But having said that, I think they have actually done a pretty good job saying they were limited. 4 players have come in on loan, 3 players also coming in for free. Moncure, Randall Williams from Exeter City, Andy Cannon as well. Longman's come from Brighton, Matt Smith from City. So they've done some pretty good business there. Players out, they've actually had a bit of a clear out really. The biggest players, from what I can notice, that they've lost is Reece Burke. Long's gone to Ipswich, obviously. I think, is it De Vries or something like that? I'm going to say average, I know I put Blackburn in here when they were under a transfer embargo, but I think Hull have done more to impress me. On to another newly promoted club in Peterborough United. I think they've had a very good window. Of course, you're not going to expect them to set the world alight in the league or in the transfer market as a newly promoted club, and a club that haven't been in the Championship since 2013, I believe. They were never going to do anything special, but they've signed a load of players for undisclosed fees. 3 for free transfers. Bringing back Jack Marriott is fantastic. They already have, obviously, Clark Harris and Ricky Dembele. They already had some great attacking options, and then they go and get Jack Marriott back. Josh Knight, George Grant. It's a great business. You look at departures as well. They haven't really lost anyone absolutely massive. So I think Peterborough should be pretty pleased with their efforts so far. So I'm going to say encouraging, to be quite honest. I think given what they've had to spend, they aren't the richest club in the world. I think they have to be pretty happy with what they've done. They've had a pretty good start as well. A draw against Cardiff. Obviously that win against Derby was pretty impressive and funny from my point of view. Preston North End. If I was a Preston fan, I'd be a little bit disappointed, to be honest, because I think their main goal was to try and sign a striker, and they failed to do that. Their transfer business, it really ain't that inspiring. Like, Liam Lindsley's coming permanently from Stoke. Josh Murphy, who's going to add to their options up front, of course. Ali McCann is the only player that they spent money on as a centre midfielder, but they haven't signed a striker. They've lost a few players as well, but I wouldn't be too over the moon. Obviously, in January they lost Ben Davies and Ben Pearson, so they are kind of having to make up for that, and it's great that they still managed to keep hold of the likes of Ryan Ledson and Brown in midfield. So, I think Preston, it just has to be average, really. On to Reading. I'll be pretty disappointed if I was a Reading fan about this business, because you look at the players they brought in. Scott Dan Jr. Hoyler, it isn't that forward thinking, is it, for the future? Baba, he's a young player, but you look at also like Danny Drinkwater, it is very underwhelming business. You look at departures, obviously they lost Elise for 8 million. They lost Aluko, Richards, that's big players. Players out on loan last season as well, like Semedo and Estevez. It isn't encouraging, is it? And I think Reading have got to be and had a shocker, because it was kind of a surprise to see them as high as they were last season anyway in the first place, but they haven't done anything at all to really say that, yeah, we're going to be up there again. So we look at Stoke City. They're getting a lot of praise and attention, saying this is their best window and their busiest window in years. And you can see why, because they've signed quite a few players. You can see right here, 3 on loan, 3 for free. Sam Sturridge is only going to offer good competition to Stephen Fletcher up from Ben Wilmot. I think he's definitely going to be their replacement for Nathan Collins. Obviously, they think him's not good, but it's a good replacement. You know, been there and done it before in the Championship with Watford. I think Vantrich, I've already said in previous videos, he is a class bit of business. I know he's 32, and I know I criticised Lascott, Dan and Hoylett for being old, but I think you have to judge it in certain different situations. I think Vantrich will work in this one. And we think they've signed a lot of players. Look at the amount they've got rid of. Look at all them. All those players. 3 out on loan, all those for free. Big money they've made there on Collins, and a load for undisclosed. Players that have been at Stoke for a long time as well. Martin Zindi, John Eben McKell, McLean. But I think Stoke have had a blinder. Quality window. They've got rid of a load of the deadwood. They've made some good signings. They've had a good start to this season, apart from losing 3-0 to Fulham, but it is Fulham at the end of the day. West Brom then, I think they've had a very good window. Not quite as good as Stoke and obviously Fulham. I think you look at the likes of Adam Reach, he's not going to come into that team and rip it up, but he's going to be a very, very good option to have off the bench from left midfield, left wing. Alex Mowat, fantastic business for free, as well as obviously getting Ishmael in, as well as their manager from Barnsley. That goal against Blackburn was absolutely fantastic from Alex Mowat. Matt Clark, Jordan Hugill, already adding to a good set of forwards. They already have, Robinson, Grant, obviously now Hugill, Zahor's there as well. They've got a great set of strikers. And they've also got rid of quite a few players. Obviously losing Pereira isn't ideal, but, they'll still be more than good enough to get out of this division, in my opinion. They're second in the league. Yeah, fair play to them. I think it's definitely encouraging. It's not quite as impressive as these two, but I do think West Brom, they can't really complain. On to Bournemouth. They bought in Gary Cahill, 35. I know I've always criticised signing older players, but yeah, he's literally, apart from Nyland, who's not going to play, the only old player that they have signed. And he has got absolute bags of experience. Marcondes, I think he's going to be a great little option to have off the bench and starting. He scored in his debut, of course, scored the first goal of the entire Championship season. I've never been a big fan of Alden Ireland. He's always been a bit error-prone for me. I'm so impressed with this. Ryan Christie, Morgan Rogers, Jamal Lowe. That is so impressive. Okay, you lose Danjuma. You don't want to lose him. You got 21 million for him, which is a lot of money for the Championship. You also lose Sam Sturridge. But you come in and then you go and sign 3 fantastic players. Maybe you could say Morgan Rogers, can he step up to the Championship at the top level as well? He's Bournemouth going to be up there this season. Whereas with Lincoln last year, he was at the top level of League One. It's a whole new ball game being at the top end of the Championship. Can he do it? Jamal Lowe, what a player. What a player to have around, man. That's absolutely brilliant. Ryan Christie, more than enough experience at the top level with Celtic and in Europe as well. I'm not going to put them in quality because there's one thing I think they should have done. They may have signed a lot of attacking options, but you look at them, winger, attacking midfielder. They needed an out-and-out striker because they've obviously got Dominic Solanke, but they haven't really got anyone else other than him that can play as a solid number 9. So if they had got an out-and-out striker, it probably would have been in quality. On to Birmingham City, another club that have had a very encouraging start to the season under Lee Bowyer. It looks like Blues are actually going to try and be pretty solid this season, unlike being in relegation battles, and it's good to see them actually do something for once. You look at their transfer business, it really does back up why they're doing well. Not only got a much better manager than they have had in previous seasons, but Ryan Woods had a very solid start to his time at Blues, of course. Obviously Troy Deeney. I mean, what else can I say about that? Like they had Jukovic, and I said in the past in my Championship predictions, oh yeah, Blues, they're looking good, but can they rely on Jukovic solely all the time? Is it too much pressure just on him to get the goals? They now have Troy Deeney, a Blues fan as well. That's such a good bit of business getting in Troy Deeney. Like, he's got that attitude about him. He'll score set pieces for fun. Brilliant bit of business there. Again, a massive clear out. I love seeing clubs just get rid of a load of players that just are past it. And they've certainly done that right here. So Blues has to be at the very, very least encouraging for me. Coventry City. Had a good start to the season, up in 7th place in only their 2nd season back in the Championship. They'll be very, very happy with that. And their business is really impressive. Really impressive. Victor Gyökeres coming in permanently from Brighton. Scored in his first game back, of course, against Forest. Martin Waghorn already adding to the likes of Godden and, Tyler Walker. Some great striking options there now at Coventry. 2 lads coming in from Chelsea as well. Ben Shee from Arsenal, Todd Kane. Some really solid business. And they haven't even lost anyone major. They've had a good start to the season. They've done some very solid business. And I think encouraging. The future does look very bright for Coventry. So on to Derby. And I said this in my East Midlands Derby preview the other day. Obviously, they can't sign any players for money. They were already limited. And we have to take that into consideration. But given the fact they had a limit, they've actually done some pretty good stuff here. 4 players coming in for free. Baldock, Stearman, Allsop, Jagielka, Morrison. Morrison's actually starting to look pretty good as a club, as he finally found a permanent home. Departures, they've got rid of quite a bit of deadwood, really. Wisdom, Ibe, Mitchell. Waghorn, it's a bit of a surprise to see him go, but, in a situation that Derby are in, they're always going to lose a few players like Waghorn. Being completely honest, we have to put them at the very least in weak because they're under a transfer embargo. But I think given the fact they had a limit, they have brought in some pretty good players. Okay, so on to Huddersfield Town. It's interesting this one, isn't it? Because they're 4th in the league after 5 games. They've won 3 in a row. They absolutely battered Reading 4-0. I did not expect that. And the business, for me, isn't even that outrageous, We mentioned Ollie Turnton earlier. Jordan Rhodes, Tom Lees, Matty Pearson, Nichols, Ruffles, they've done quite a bit of business there. Departures, they've got rid of, another club that's got rid of deadwood, the likes of Schindler, Stearman, Pritchard, Keogh, obviously Richard Keogh. But I do think Hoods, they have, I'm not going to call them that again, Huddersfield, they do have some good players in there, Josh Koroma. I'm not going to say it's weak, I'm not going to say it's average. I think that's about fair. On to Luton, of course, they did a lot of this business early on in the window. It's always good to do that. Amari Bell as a left-back option now. Reece Burke, Fred had a pretty good start to his time at Wicker. Obviously, I can't say his last name. Can you believe that? I've seen him get a lot of praise so far, Fred, so far. So, it's a great bit of business, that, from Luton. You look at the likes of Matty Pearson leaving, like we just mentioned, Moncure. Tunnicliffe, I'm surprised to see him go to League One. So I'm going to put Luton in average. It's nothing amazing, but I think they'll be pretty content with it. They're just, yet again, consoling and consolidating themselves as a Championship club, and it's good to see. On to Boro. I think they've had a pretty good window, to be quite honest. I've never heard of Martin from the Argentinian League, but it cost £6 million, so he's got to be worth something. I think he's definitely going to replace the likes of George Saville, who, as we can see here, has gone back to Millwall. Lost Britt, Asombalonga, lost Fletcher, lost Stuart Atpom. That's 3 forwards all gone, but they've brought in Ikpenzu, who has had a very good start to his life at Riverside Stadium, of course. Amiobi, he has not yet played for Boro, but I think in time will be a good option to have. Matt Crooks has been brilliant so far for Boro. Whenever I've seen Boro play, him and Ikpenzu have been fantastic. Also, Oreo Hernandez, that's gone under the radar, that has. I didn't even know that until recently that he's gone there. Brilliant bit of business from Norwich City, of course. Nevertheless, I think it's encouraging for Boro. They've had a relatively good start to the season. And I think as well, it's worth pointing out they've managed to keep hold of Tavernier, their winger, because he was linked with Burnley. So keeping him is a massive thing. Okay, only a few clubs left. Onto Millwall. It's very in the middle. So you've gathered, I'm going to put them in average, to be honest. Scott Malone's come back in permanently. George Long. George Saville, I think, is a great bit of business, getting him back in. It's pretty well known that they did need to get a proper striker, Berker Phoebe, only on loan, but I think that's, great bit of business there, to be honest. If he can stay fit, Berker Phoebe would be a great bit of business because he's been around the block so many times in the Championship now at Wolves, Bristol City, Stoke. They haven't really lost anyone massive either, so, they've got a striker. And if he can stay fit, like I said, it's a very good bit of business. They've got George Saville back, not really lost anyone major. But it's a bit like Preston, really, and the likes of Bristol City as well, and even the next team on this list. If we really, really want to try and push on and, try and maybe even get top 10, they needed to do a little bit more, in my opinion. So, average. So, on to my team, Forest. Obviously, Ethan Horvath's only played in the Cups so far, but he's looked absolutely brilliant and arguably should be playing for us in the league. Max Lowe, I have to wait and see about that one. He's not actually played for us yet. Zinkernagel's been fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Too good for us. 2-2, bit injury prone, but he's still a great addition. He can play at left back as well. James Garner, I mean, don't need to say any more than that. Spence, he's definitely going to offer competition at right back, and I could see him having to play in a different position as well, given the fact we've got so many right backs now coming in. We look at the departed list. We've got rid of a lot of deadwood. We're certainly one of those teams that have done that. There's only really Gartang Bong and Carl Jenkinson now that we need to get rid of, and I think we don't really have anyone that you can classify as out and out deadwood. And we've shaved our wage bill by about £10 million. So little things like that, I think we've had a good window really. And losing Gabriel could arguably got a bit more for him. Losing Ribeiro was very annoying, but it appears that it was a bit of our own fault, that one. But yeah, I think Forest, it's only fair to put us no higher than average. Maybe if we'd actually signed a full-on actual striker, because Silva is not that. He's a winger really. I think I could put us a bit higher, and if we'd fully sorted out our left back issue, then maybe a bit higher, but I think average is about right. Swansea City. Straight away, I think it's only right. I had an absolute shocker. Pereiro, not how you say it, and Efebe, decent, you know, that's a replacement for obviously Andre Ayew. But Patterson and Walsh coming in from, you know, two rejects from Bristol City, both very injury prone. Liam Walsh literally spent pretty much all of last season injured. Straight from the get-go there, not encouraging. That's a pretty good bit of business from Celtic, to be fair. But you look at the players out, they've lost Roberts, and I know they still have Norton and Ethan Lairs also coming from Man United on loan, but losing Conor Roberts is still huge. And losing him on deadline day, also losing Jamal Lowe on deadline day. That's two massive names that they've lost on deadline day, not replaced them properly. Obviously Andre Ayew, like we just said. They've lost a lot of key players. There's a few signings there that, you know, is kind of encouraging when you look at it, like, you know, the two strikers, but other than that, it's not good. Queen's Park Rangers had a fantastic year, to be quite honest, not just this season, and they've done some great business getting back in Johansson, Field, and who else did they have? Austin. All those three were on loan last season, and they've managed to get them all back. Device from Hull. You know, they've done some great business right there. Andre Gray, that is just fantastic. I know he's 30, but they already have Austin and Lyndon Dykes, and Cherry's, you know, a very advanced forward player. Andre Gray, what a signing, man. What a signing. Departures, they've not really lost anyone absolutely major either. So, yeah, I'm really impressed with what's happening at QPR, and it can only be in quality in my opinion. One more team there, Sheffield United, had an absolutely shocking start to the season. They've got quite a distinct lack of scoring goals, and Brewster's been a flop. Hasn't even got going in the Championship, where he was so good for Swansea previously as well. Billy Sharp and McGoldrick are older players, but you would have thought that they would have managed to get going in this division. Sharp's the only player that has scored for them so far. It's not encouraging. Ben Davis is definitely going to help out at centre-back, freshen that up a little bit with, you know, they've got Basham and O'Connell and Egan, get someone new in there. It's good to see him come in. Conor Houriham is only going to help them midfield. He is 30, but more than enough left in him. Morgan Gibbs-White, you know, I'm really pleased to see those two come in. That's really encouraging. And obviously, keeping Sander Berg is like a new signing. Like, that's just such a big boost for them there. Robin Olsen literally played for Roma in like the Champions League, Europa League, Serie A. Great replacement for Aaron Ramsdale. And you look at the players that they have lost, literally just said them there. Ramsdale, Jagielka, Moore, Lundstrom, Lowe. They've lost quite a few players, but you know, they've done some brilliant business. I suppose they have anyway. But I mean, I say suppose because look at where they are in the league. Is this just a massive hangover? Is it really hit them that badly, relegation? Yes, I think it has. And I think the style of football they're trying to play in the Jukanovic with the players that they've got, maybe it just doesn't suit it. It has to be an average. And I know there's a lot in average. I didn't want to try and overload one tier, but yeah, I think that's about fair. So there we go. That is my grading of every Championship club's transfer window. I'm sure you're going to disagree with me in certain areas. If you do, by all means, let me know in the comments below, politely. You know, what you disagree with, what you do agree with if you do. If you have enjoyed, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you very soon. Thank you.